Thank you. Well, welcome back to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for March 23rd. We just came out of a public hearing or public forum with Kinder Morgan to discuss the pipeline. And we're now going to proceed with our regularly scheduled meeting. First up in the order is the review of items from consent. The consent folder is pretty full today, so let's see. Item 1, minutes of March 9th, 2015. Accounts payable manifest for $42,867.74. Payroll manifest for $48,016.39. An abatement for map 5, lots 261 through 267. An abatement map 22, lot 30. A notice of intent to excavate for map 21, lot 18. A permit for LMS cross-country race for April 19th. The reappointment of Richard Husband and Marion Guzik to the Conservation Commission. A reappointment of Laurie Gandia to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. The reappointment of Thomas Cooney and Gregory Lepine as alternates to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. The reappointment of Sharon Harding Reed as treasurer. The reappointment of Deborah Hogenkamp as deputy treasurer. The reappointment of Thomas Young to the Planning Board. And an elderly exemption application approval ×4.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we accept the items for consent.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion?
Yes, my question deals with the appointment of Sharon Harding Reed and Deborah Hogenkamp as treasurer and deputy treasurer, respectively. We have a policy in place for background checks. I just wanted to make sure I understood the status of that, that's all.
Per the policy, it's every 2 years. We completed it in 14. They'll be due again in 16.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. Next up is any other business? Anybody else want to add anything to the schedule for tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, based on the Kinder Morgan meeting, I'd like to add a brief discussion on some things I'd like to see collected for the board or on behalf of the board in terms of the meeting.
Okay. I'll add that in other business. Anybody else? All right, hearing that, the agenda will be that plus the Kinder Morgan topic. Next up is the board reorganization. This is the time of year where we vote the positions of chair and vice chair, and then additionally we will redo committee assignments. First up is the board reorganization. I'll take a motion or I guess nominations from any members for chair.
Make a nomination for chair for Steve Perry.
I'll second the nomination.
Okay, I have a motion for Steve Perry as chair. And a second?
Second.
Yeah, second, yeah, no, I said, in a second, sorry. Any other nominations? Okay. Hearing that, all those in favor of the Steve Perry as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4. Oh, okay, so 4-0-1. Steve Perry is now the new chair. You may take it from here.
Thanks. The next position that we'll go for is going to be for vice chair. Is there any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Mr. Byron.
I have a nomination for Mr. Byron. Do I have a second?
I decline the nomination, sir.
That settles that.
That settles that. Do I have any more nominations?
I'll nominate Mr. Brunel as vice chair.
I have a nomination for Mr. Brunel as vice chair.
I'll
Do I have a
second
second? I have a second. Do you have any issue with that?
No.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of John Brunel for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All those abstain? Aye. Motion carries 4-0-1. The next will be the ex officio positions, and we'll start with conservation. Do I have any nominations, or anybody that actually says they want to do it? Usually for these, we let people pick what they want to do. Don't all jump at it, guys.
When do they meet?
First Thursday of every month. Typical meeting lasts about a half hour to an hour at the most.
I might be able to do that. I think I could, sure. I'll try.
Okay, so if nobody has any objections, I'd like to just kind of like go through all the ex officio positions, we'll vote on them all at once. Unless there's anybody else that wants conservation, we'll say that that's Brent's. Hearing no opposition, next one will be planning board. Does anybody who want to do the planning board? How about we go to the next, we change this up a
Mr.
little.
Chairman, I've done the planning board now for God knows how many years, the last, with the exception of the last, what, 1 year, or whatever.
Yeah, this year, prior to that, you know.
And I'm planning out.
You're planning out. So, is there anybody that wants it?
My issue is I can't make every meeting, so that's my issue. I don't mind doing it, it's just getting there, that's hard.
Well, they're on the opposite Tuesday typically of the recreation. The recreation is the one that I've always been doing. Unless somebody wants to take over recreation. I mean, I enjoy doing recreation, but I don't want every Tuesday booked, I can tell you that. I'm gonna start saying Jason.
I can't help you. I can't help you on any of these.
I mean, I can do recreation, but I can't do planning board.
All right, so we'll put myself down for planning board, and we'll put John Brunel down for recreation.
And if you need a backup, I will more than willing to
Yeah.
back up, it's
I
fine.
don't-
Okay. The next will be budget committee. Who wants to, Frank did it this year, right? Yes, he did. Before that, it was
It was me for 2 years.
you for 2 years. And I know that Brent's done it in the past. Anybody want budget committee?
I will do it, but if there's others that want it, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that either.
I'll be Frank's backup.
My problem is I'm teaching in the fall, on Thursdays.
That's when it gets busy.
Yeah.
Well, that's when budget committee gets busy, as you know.
Right.
Same with you, Steve, too, as far as planning board.
All those in favor of Steve Perry, say aye.
Say that again?
Did you say you were doing planning board?
Yes.
Same thing with you, like if you can't make it.
What about
He'll be his
it?
backup.
You'll be a backup? So I'll have you and Frank to back me up. So I'm gonna put Frank down for budget. Does that sound good?
And I can try to maneuver, I think I can maneuver some around Frank if you need it.
Yeah, because some oddball stuff comes up every now and then.
Yep. You put me as a backup for budget.
It's ridiculous.
Excellent. And then capital improvements committee. I don't even know who's on this right now.
So it's myself and Jason, and to be honest, I think at this point, it should just be run totally out by the town office at this point, because now it's becoming just a clerical job. We have the reports and stuff, and
Yeah, I mean, it'll double back. I mean, we have some volunteers. I think it will benefit from a set of eyes from a selectman at some point, because we have to have that tool. But we've designed it so it's not as much heavy lifting by the committee per se.
I still think that while it may be more of a clerical function now that you have wherewithal in place, we still need to have a selectman on the committee who at least runs a meeting maybe once every 4 months, and I don't mean the selectman runs it, but that committee ought to meet maybe once a quarter or something like that. The reason I say that is the vote we took as a town was to replace the planning board handling the capital program and to get more people involved in it. And to do that, I believe, it says in the state law, who's supposed to be part of that committee. So I think not having meetings of that committee and just doing it as a clerical function wouldn't fly, usually what I'm saying.
I have no problem continuing on. It's just, said it's been, Jason's been doing all the heavy lifting. It's been about collecting our assets and all that. The members have provided a lot of input to the direction. And I think you started during the year, we talked about how do we tackle this capital, not that we have now. We have to try to think about how to plan for it. This year, there was no appetite to put a budget in, to put a number in for that. This year will be the year, this year will be the year we gotta start figuring out how to approach that. So I'm more than happy to stay on it. It's-
Okay. So, to wrap this up, we have Conservation Commission is gonna be Brent, we have myself for planning, we have John for the Recreation Commission, we have Frank for the Budget Committee, and we have John for the Capital Improvements Committee. Do I have a motion to move that forward?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Motion and a second by Mr. Brunel. Any discussion?
Yeah, there's some things that I think we're missing, but I'm not sure if we want to cover them. One of which is the regional hazardous waste. We had assigned Jason, but if that's not the decision of this board going forward, we need to,
We've assigned Dave.
Dave.
Mullen.
Dave Mellon. I'm Dave's.
wrong hazardous waste. I'm talking the one that handles the cleanup and trying to make sure that we don't.
Oh, the Hazardous Materials Mutual Aid District.
Oh,
Correct.
right.
Oh, with the fire, okay.
We can go over that in the other category. There's still another category afterwards. Any further discussion on the ex officio positions? Hearing none, all those in favor of those positions as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those abstain, motion carries 5-0-0. So next, we will move on to the other, which would more or less be committee, advisory.
This was sort of my other catch-all thing, because I wanted to really point out we had other items that we've assigned board members to, and that I have one where
So I am doing the wastewater study, which has just gotten underway. The rec facility planning, that's an old one, isn't it?
No, that's the new one that's just getting started.
The new one, okay. And we also have the union contracts, that's the police union contract?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna need somebody that's going to want to help negotiate the police.
I
union
did that
contract.
last time, so,
Does that mean you want it again?
no, I'm just saying that I did it last time, so
Did a
perhaps.
great job.
Did
And
you
I
do a
think there
good
was
job?
Brent-
They
Brent was
accepted
on it as well.
I assisted, but Frank did you did an excellent job of that.
It was mostly Jason.
Well, whoever. I would certainly be willing to assist again.
I'm just saying that the problem I have right now is with my schedule, most of those meetings were occurring in the day. While I wasn't in session of the House and on Finance Committee, that was something I could do. Right now is impossible.
Right now, I'm free, but
I mean, it doesn't have to start right now either. I mean, it'll probably start sometime in the summer.
Yeah, I said, it will be sometime in the summer, but I'm just trying to figure out who it is that will be the likely,
Trilobite?
yes. So we can know where it's going, so.
why don't we do it again and see how, like we did last time? That's up to you. I mean,
I don't know what my schedule's gonna be. Right now, I'm.
and I don't either.
five-
That's my problem.
Actually, 5 and 6 days a week in Concord. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I'm hoping it doesn't go beyond June.
Can we talk about this
Why don't we
as
put-
it gets closer?
Yeah, why don't we
Just
plan on
determine.
revisiting it when I get a schedule closer and we know where both of your schedules will be?
Sounds fantastic.
Or move it to somebody else and you don't have to worry about.
Unless there's any objections, that's what we will go. Anybody?
No objections.
No objections. We'll move forward. Was there any other positions that needed to be overseen? Well, you mentioned
The regional, what do you call it?
The Regional Hazardous Materials Response District.
Right, now, we had Jason attending those. They only meet, what, once a quarter, maybe?
No, that they meet once a year with maybe one extraordinary meeting a year. And the past 2 years, their meetings have been in Wyndham, so I can more or less go on my way home.
Perfect if you want. Otherwise, if you can, I will if you
Yeah,
want.
I have
Okay.
no problem
You can
continuing.
put me as an alternate.
The other option is the chief, fire chief.
Chief is already, the chief already has a role in the operations
Right.
board, and then there's
Okay.
the executive
There's
board
Right.
is a selectman
There's two-
administrator board, yeah. So, yeah.
2 members, one from the legislative, executive, and one from the operation.
Yep. So,
I say
Charter
we leave it
members.
as is. Any objection?
no, it's fine.
Any objection from anybody else?
No.
Sounds good, let's move forward. All right. Next thing we have on our agenda is administrator report. Jason, you got some new business for us.
Got a little bit of new business for you. You saw under the consent agenda, it was chasing a lot of post-town meeting stuff. Draw your attention to, first, under the meeting section here under old business, when you're looking on the website for the meeting, there's a bunch of additional pipeline information that has been coming in there that I've put on. It's not my intention to go through all of that, but been putting some there, continue to work with the regional group, continue to update our website. Hopefully you got a call from me on Friday afternoon advising you of the meeting tonight.
I got
So-
3 of them.
Yeah, depending on how you're enrolled, you may have heard from me more than once. What I have, the other thing I have here, and I haven't had any feedback, so it's up to you how you all wish to proceed with this. I received a recommendation from the planning board for their adjustments for impact fees for the coming year. They held a hearing on February 5th regarding those changes. Town meeting approved the related article changes to the impact fee ordinance. And the attachment that comes with that is a memo to the board recommending adopting a couple of their reports and fee schedules accordingly. What I've shared with you is what I know at this point, so I'm not sure if you have questions that we can answer, or if you want to digest it, what your
Two-
preference is.
2 questions. Number one, under the planning documents, I believe that the planning board's required to give us an update by August, so they would not be giving us any changes from now until August. Am I correct in that assumption?
Right.
Okay. And these are the new impact fees that were put together by the consultant out of Maine. Am I
Right.
correct in that?
Right. Based on the new data analysis they did, and the attachment goes through with that whole report,
then-
so.
Can I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we table this until the next Board of Selectmen meeting and give the members of the board an opportunity to go through that, come up with their questions, and then also to invite potentially the chairman of the planning board or his or her designee to present their proposed changes to the board?
That sounds fantastic.
Second?
Aye.
It's a long motion,
I
but
was gonna say. All right, so we have a motion by Frank and a second by Brent. Any discussion?
there's no discussion on the
I
tabling
just-
motion.
I just want to make sure. All right, we'll call this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. So Jason, make sure we add that to our next agenda.
And I guess I'll fire the question back at you. If you can, if you review it and have questions, if you have the ability to send them to me in between now and the next meeting, I can forward them along so we can actually have those answers for you at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
I think think we're all set with those, Ken. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're on to old business, Jason.
Old business, conversion of cable operators to part-time employees. As I mentioned briefly at our last meeting, the Department of Labor had received a complaint about cable operators being considered independent contractors instead of employees. So I had a visit from Department of Labor inspector. We received their report that the employees should be classified as part-time employees of the town. Their view being there's no artificial separation because of a separate committee. They have no written contract with contractual recourse if work is not completed, and they're basically being paid by timesheet for specific hours worked. So, we initiated the process to convert to part-time. I shared a note from the cable committee chair out to his then contractors below, and have coordinated with him. I'll review the timesheets as appropriate on a weekly basis to ensure that payroll happens in a timely manner. In the short run, I need to have all the new hire paperwork put together in separate copies to provide to Department of Labor to demonstrate our compliance and to avoid fines. So I've been working through that process over the past week and a half.
Yes, Mr. Byron.
Does that mean that the new town employees will be participating in the New Hampshire retirement system?
No, because they do not meet the required threshold of hours. They're all very part-time. So, unless, of course, the legislature decides to change the rules again.
We can look into that if you'd like.
You do every session. So we're working through that process. Know that I am going to have to gather all that information up, demonstrate our good faith and compliance to the Department of Labor to avoid a fine.
Okay.
So,
Anybody with any questions for Jason on that? Anything else, Jason?
under old business, no. Under other items, we just want to go over all of the things that we file with Department of Revenue post-town meeting have been filed, so all the year-end reports, you'll see there's one that requires your signature, so that was the last hanging piece I had for that. If you've looked at your budget reports following the week from town meeting, you'll notice budgets are included and posted, so those reports are somewhat more informative now. We've put all of those in place, so I think all of that preliminary logistical stuff following town meeting, we've gotten in place. In terms of other larger projects coming out of that, I expect over the next meeting or two, you will be getting my first set of recommendations for review on the wage plan implementation. With that article passing, you remember when you passed the policy change, it had a timeline of different things phasing in that was starting in January of 2014. So obviously I need to toggle that schedule accordingly, so we can look at how that's going and you can see where those adjustments are. So I'm hoping that the first wave of adjustments we make will have agreed on to be effective June 1. That's what I'm targeting on that. We'll need to do some thinking on the steps we want to take to go about forming an agricultural commission now that it has been approved. I think you all get Town and City magazine. You'll notice that
It was an
by great coincidence, the main theme of this most recent month was all about agricultural commissions. So you may want to sift through that as well, because that'll be sort of the best resource we have probably to get started on that sort of thing. We had a different issue. We had a issue last weekend actually, at Town Hall. At the end of that last week, actually week before last, they discovered there was no water reaching the building. And of course, comedy night was scheduled the following night.
goes.
Penachuk had identified there's a frozen service main, apparently was buried about 3 feet deep. And at that point on Friday, they had not recommended digging it up. Kevin worked with Penachuk to identify a way to provide some basic water services through a temporary rerouting for the hall to be open, and they pulled that off Saturday morning so comedy night could go forward without a hitch Saturday night. So, some good effort to make sure that the wheels didn't come off the wagon there. The theory at that point was that the repair work was going to happen in the spring. And last week, last Tuesday, Penachuk ended up digging it up and fixed it.
What was it?
Well,
frozen
or
line
fixed as much as they will fix it, I mean, it was a broken pipe, there were enough weird conditions when you have the pipe 3 feet deep, you're gonna have issues, so.
But they redid it the same, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, I think their theory was one time in 20 years, they will,
Is it their feeder pipe, though?
yeah,
Or is it us?
it's their pipe,
Why wouldn't they just fix it then?
because they would have to dig it deeper to replace the whole thing.
Was it 3 feet? I thought they said it was deeper than that.
Well, they wouldn't have had to dig it deeper if they used their imagination, just pile dirt up on top of it.
Raise the topsoil, be good.
So anyway, we had the issue, it was dodged, and, some good last minute work there. There's a bunch of other things that I put under informational items. If anybody has any other questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them.
Be careful of Radar O'Reilly over there, he likes to slip his vacation in.
Yeah, no, I did notice that earlier.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's plenty of notice, I'm just saying.
Well, except, there is one that's short notice. I just realized today that I need to.
Oh, yeah, good luck with that one.
Next week is my daughter's spring break, so be gone a couple days there. I would point out that we do have vacancies right now for mosquito district, and I think we still have we have at least one more vacancy on the planning board, based on non-readed, on alternate for planning board. Yeah.
Oh, it's only alternate, because that we just approved. and-
Because when you move, yes, thank you.
Okay. How many people are in mosquito district now? 2?
We have 2.
Is that third person serving until their term expires?
As far as I know, they left.
Until
No,
the-
as far as no, he is,
I was requested to close all access,
Right.
so.
so we are down to 2 on that.
Okay. I was just looking through.
Will you send me stuff on conservation?
Yeah,
Or how does it?
yeah, it'll all come to you magically.
Yeah.
Mad Hatter.
Magic.
Okay. So that's it for you, Jason, right?
That's all I have.
Can we put something on the reader boards, maybe, saying that we're asking for volunteers for, and I named the committees,
Right, I'll list what we're looking for.
even the agriculture?
Sure.
We'll get it on the website as well.
Yeah, I'll get something.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll broadcast it out through Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the line is Selectmen Reports. I don't have to do my Selectmen report about the rec commission losing water. Jason already took care of it.
Sorry.
No, that's all I've had, because the one meeting that they've had since, I'd say in the last 2 months, that I wasn't able to make, so they have a meeting tomorrow night. So you know, John. I believe it's tomorrow night, I'll double check in a second. Anybody else with Selectmen reports?
No, sir.
Planning board, new chair, Tom Young.
Tom Young?
Yeah, he's the new chair of the planning board, exception of that.
Okay, anybody else? Hearing none, items move from consent, which is none. Other business, discuss. Kinder Morgan.
Yeah, as we were going through the testimony tonight, one of the things that I thought may be of benefit if the board were to do this, and I think it's within our discretion to direct the town assessor to try and give us information as to what happens to a property's value in terms of having a pipeline run through it and near it. And I know each property is going to be different, but in general terms, I think we can get an understanding as to what's happened. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there that people are throwing around based upon what they read on the internet or whatever the case may be, and I think it'd just be to our benefit to try and get something like that. I do know that they did that for us when the matter of the cell tower that was built in the southern part of town and back of the church was put up. So I would think they'd be able to do the same type of thing in general terms for us.
And they've already started putting some of those numbers together for Merrimack. They've discussed that, and Lauren has mentioned sharing that with me, so I will check in on the status of that, so she'll be able to get that to you fairly
So-
soon.
I have a curiosity. I guess I don't understand why, I mean, there's obvious impact somewhere, but when you think about it, they're going down the right-of-way already. They're going down the electrical power line right away because you would think that there would be no other impact by doing that. I mean, yes, there'll certainly be issues with abutters because they gotta cut into their lane a little bit, but.
Well, the issue with that is that it is along the right-of-way for the power lines, but it's actually next to it. So
Right.
it actually increases it.
Oh, see, I
So
was
what
under the
happens is-
impression it was
No.
within their already, their 100-yard or buffer they had.
No,
Okay.
Steve is correct. They are moving,
They're moving.
I've heard the term 5 feet, but I'm not sure it's 5 feet. They're moving outside of the right-of-way.
I think they have to be outside of whoever the power company is, of the lines. I
Right.
think it's 5 feet from their
Okay.
right-of-way that they then begin their 50 feet.
Which is where they start, yeah.
So some of those houses on like Wren and Mockingbird in particular are very
Very
close
close, yeah.
now, and probably only have 10 or 20 feet worth of trees left. Well, if it's on their side, they'll probably be incinerated,
So,
those trees.
so that was one of the things I thought we could get. The other thing is I would like to ask, or I'd like to see the board ask our emergency management director, Chief Freitzel, to provide an analysis as to what this would mean in terms of his services or the needs of the town, or the needs that he can see of the town for handling this type of infrastructure moving through Litchfield. I think it's important that we understand that and are able to have an expert, and I'm sure the chief would would easily be classified as somebody who could provide that information. So there was that, and then the last thing is, my opinion is at some point in the next couple of weeks, the Board of Selectmen are gonna have to probably come up with a position on this. The reason I say that is, they're gonna start at some point providing testimony to these agencies, and I don't know when it's gonna be. I'm guessing it's gonna be sometime in the summer, and I'm talking right now, the state agencies as well as the PUC, and I would think also FERC is gonna be requiring that. And for us, we need to be prepared for that, so we need to have a position of the board to be able to understand what we're gonna do or where we're gonna go. So those are my issues on, my thinking on Kinder Morgan.
Go ahead.
If I can follow up on a couple of those.
No,
I would also suggest, and I will add to this as well, for the property assessment, the other piece that I heard tonight, which was the first time I heard it, that their estimate of what they expect to pay in taxes is based on the state approach to valuing their pipeline,
correct.
which caught my attention because the state tends to lowball utility values.
Well, it's
So-
the same as the utility valuations. If they
Right.
use DRA valuations, they're,
D-
what is it, 20% lower?
Yeah,
DRA's valuations for utilities are generally being thrown out there. That's created a lot of problems at the legislature.
Yeah.
The legislature was trying to change that, and what they would use is a 30-year depreciated value down to a minimum depreciated value of 20% of the asset's worth. So
I mean, I think.
I'm not sure whether that bill is gonna, I forget what we did with it, whether it passed or failed, but
What caught my attention on that was a sort of second question to our assessors on what their approach has been to pipelines, if they are in any of the communities they serve now, because my sense is that through the approach that our assessors will take, the value would be slightly higher. I mean, that's, our values tend to be slightly higher than the state value
Right, I mean,
anyway,
I wouldn't
so,
want to be taking DRA evaluations until,
yeah.
unless we absolutely have to.
Then, the other thing that I would say in terms of revisiting this, you are gonna have to, at the very least, have a tangible conversation, in the next several meetings about access. And I'll pull this up, that you may not have noticed, simply because there's so much stuff over here under pipeline. But, one of the items is the, town-owned parcels for pipeline. We have, 2 parcels that are impacted by this. And one of them is a fairly generic lot, map 10, lot 60, attach the deed, you can see it on the tax map. Land that we own. Ultimately, the permission is gonna be, will you give them permission to survey it? The other lot I flagged, and this is the other reason why we'll be doubling back on this, the map 14, lot 125, which is, land, conservation land bordering Londonderry. And so I attached the deed with that. This one is interesting in that there are some issues associated with granting access as well as use of the land and authority from conservation restrictions. So I sent a couple questions off to council today after reading through the deed, looking to clarify whose roles, responsibilities are where on this, so we're not, because we may be able to grant authority to survey, but an actual ability to cross is going to be woven into the conservation easement, which is going to have to be permission of the Conservation Commission, as stated in that deed. So, we will be revisiting it for sure for those issues.
I don't per se have a problem with them surveying those 2 parcels before we make a decision whether we as a town allow or fight, whatever you want to call it, that. I think we need to collect a bunch more information, data, give it some very serious thought.
Yeah. And I would also say, before we just blanket grant survey permission too, there are some provisions that we should and can request from that process, that I've looked at what some of our neighbors are doing, so I can borrow some of their things, just to make sure that we're getting that information back and are part of the process. So I would expect that over the next meeting or two, we can pull that together as well.
Sounds good. Does anybody have anything else? Hearing none, the only thing left on our agenda is to go into a non-public session.
So move, Mr. Chairman, going to non-public under section 91A C.
Yep, 3.
3,
Roman
Roman numeral 2.
numeral
A,
Compensation.
compensation, okay, thank you.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Seconded.
Motion and a second. So with that being said, we'll be going into.
Roll call vote.
Right, that's right. So do I have a roll call vote? Mr.
Aye.
Lemire?
Yes.
Mr. Byron?
Yes.
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 And yes for myself as well. So with that said, we will only be coming out of non-public to adjourn, so that will be the end of our telecast this evening. Have a good night.